Hi guys, and welcome to Cultnomics. My name is Paul Hanley, and today I'm going to be chatting to you about calculating CPI and inflation. In this video, we are going to calculate both the Consumer Price Index (CPI) and the inflation rate from a basic set of price and quantity figures. So, in the first table up here, we have the cost of a basket of goods. We have from year 2018 up to 2020 the prices for two goods in the economy. On the left hand side, we have the price of a donut and the quantity of donuts that are consumed in our imaginary economy. We also have the price of coffee in the economy and the quantity that are consumed. And these are assumed to be fixed basket of goods in that there are 4 donuts consumed in 2018, the exact same amount in 2019 and the exact same amount in 2020. We also have 2 cups of coffee consumed in 2018, 19 and 2020. So a fixed basket of goods. The only thing that's changing over the 3 successive years is the price of the products in this economy here. Okay, so to get the total cost of goods in this economy, what we will do is multiply the price of each product by its quantity and add them on to the price by quantity of the other product. So in our case here, in 2018, which we'll start off with, we have a price of €1 for a donut and there are 4 consumed. So if we multiply 1 by 4, we get 4 over here. And if we do the same thing for coffee, we have a price of coffee of €2. We have the quantity that are consumed of 2. If we multiply 2 by 2, we also get our 4 here. If we add them together, we get the total cost of our basket of goods, donuts and coffees for 2018. And we can continue on this process as we go down. What we will see here is that in 2019, 2 by 4 will give us 8 in this case here, plus 3 by 2, which will give us 6. So we have a total cost in 2019 of 14. And finally, 3 by 4, which will give us 12. And then we add on our 4 by 2, which is 8. And that gives us a total cost of a basket of goods in 2020 of 20. So we have our total cost for each year in that case. What we have to then do is move on to computing the CPI. So how do we go about doing this? Well, for the CPI, what we need is a formula. And the formula is as follows. So CPI is equal to the cost of a basket of goods and services. So a basket of goods and services, we'll call that G and S, and that's in the current year. So in the current year, and all of this is divided by the cost of the basket. So cost of the basket, and what we say is the cost of the basket in the base year. So what's this base year we're talking about now? Well, the base year is you compare an index to a set starting point year, and usually we look at a range of years here and we take the first year, so 2018 in our case. So when we compute our index, we arbitrarily pick a base year. I'm going to pick the starting year in our sequence, which is 2018, which means that when we work out here our values, the base year is 2018, the current year will be whatever year we're dealing with. Okay, so how do we work this out? The formula, the cost of a basket of goods and services in the current year. So let's say the current year is 2018, which means the cost of this basket is €8, as we figured out up here. Now, the cost of the basket in the base year, 2018, is the exact same. So we divide it by the cost of the basket in that year, and the final thing we do in our formula is we multiply the numerator over the denominator, we multiply that by 100. So it becomes 8 over 8 multiplied by 100. And in that case, 8 over 8 multiplied by 100 comes out to be 100. So our CPI, and this will always happen, our base year starting point, the CPI will be set to 100. What's interesting is what happens in the next year. So in 2019, we are working out with the same formula, the cost of the basket of goods and services in the current year. Now it's 2019. We worked this out above in our first table. And in 2019, the cost of our basket of goods was €14. We divide this, as our formula says, by the cost of the basket in the base year. The base year is 2018, which is 8, and we multiply by 100. So what does this come out at? Well, if we multiply this out on a calculator, what we come out with is 175. So what does this actually mean? Well, it means that if you were buying these donuts and coffees in 2018, you'd have to spend €100 for the amount that's bought in 2018. In 2019, for the exact same amount of coffee and the exact same amount of donuts, you would have to spend €175. So the index tracks this inflation in the economy over time. So let's look at the next one. In 2020, the cost of the basket of goods and services in the current year is 20. So 20 divided by the cost of those in the base year, which we know is 8. And again, we multiply our answer by 100. So 20 over 8 multiplied by 100 is 250. So now we can see our CPI is increasing over time, not because the quantity is increasing, which isn't happening here, but because the prices, so simply prices of goods and services, are increasing. So that's how we construct our CPI index. But the usual way that we present these in economics is as percentages, and we present it as an inflation rate. So how do we move from a CPI index over 3 years to calculating the inflation rate? Well, what we have to do here is use another formula. So what we will say is the inflation rate, which I'm going to put in as this symbol here, pi, the inflation rate is equal to. So how do we calculate it? It is the CPI, which we have worked out in between 2 years. So we'll start off here with year 2. So CPI in year 2 minus the CPI in year 1. And that's all divided by the CPI in year 1. So CPI in year 1, and again multiplied by 100. Okay, so let's take 2 successive years then. The calculation will be between 2018 and 2019 for our CPI figures. Okay, so CPI in 2018 is 100, and CPI in year 2, the current year, is 175. So our formula is year 2, 175, minus CPI in year 1, which we know is 100, all divided by CPI in year 1, which we still know is 100. We multiply that by 100 over here, and when we work this out on the calculator, what we get is a value of 75%. So the inflation rate between 2018 and 2019 is 75%. We can work this out again, and now year 2 in this case is going to be 2020, and year 1 is going to be 2019. So in 2020, the CPI is 250 minus the CPI in year 1, the previous year, which is 175. So 175, all divided by the CPI in year 1, which is now 175. Don't forget, we have to multiply this then by 100. And when we do this, what we work out of the calculator is that the inflation rate is 43%. So to work out inflation from a CPI, we use the current year, or year 2, minus the previous year, year 1, divided by the previous year CPI and multiply by 100. So that's how to calculate the CPI and the inflation rate from a cost of basket of goods with just prices and quantity. I hope you call back to Cultnomics soon. Bye for now.